Alrighty. For just a moment, I want to open up. Yeah, wake up, Doug. Come on. We just started. For just a moment, I want to open up the floor for discussion, and I want you to think about what your faith is built on. I want you to think about why you believe what you believe. And kind of what are some of the contributing factors that contribute to why you believe in the things like the existence of God, factors that contribute to you believing in like the reality of Jesus, like the real Jesus, historical Jesus, and really why you follow the Bible and why you follow Christianity. Think about all of that from all of those different angles. Open floor, open discussion, just for a moment. What is it?
Dale,
What are your... Yeah.
I'm a simple-minded fellow.
Okay. I don't know about that, but...
Along the way, I realized that either mind created matter or matter created mind.
Okay.
And so I went with the mind creating the matter. And if the mind could be the creator, I think he could put into play, into work, the story that we read about in the Bible and make sure that it could be inerrant and be the guide to salvation. So
Okay.
that's Psalms 19:1.
Mind before matter.
Mind over. Yeah.
Over matter. Created matter. Okay. That's kind of where you were at, what you settled on, and what you took off with. This is one of your reasons why.
Yes.
Okay. There's no wrong answers here. Well, maybe, I don't know. But what else? Yeah.
There is just too much for it to be an accident, or for it to have evolved out of nothingness or from basic elements for life as we know it, even just this world and the vastness of everything around us. It took, and I go with what Bill says, it took a mind to be able to make this operate and be like it is. We can't explain why gravity is what it is.
Sure.
For one small matter. And so there has to be a mind and all, and so there has to be a God that's behind all of this. And so the rest of it falls into line after that.
Okay. And you would say that too is one of your reasons why.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what we're talking about. Why? What is your personal reasons why? Yes, Rick.
Several years back, I went through some hard times, and I think I spent a year. I was unable to see my son. I was sent through medically, and it was just me and God. I mean, I would speak to him like it's just normal conversations. And
Okay.
that's probably the only reason I'm alive today, because of my personal relationship with God over that year. And I think a lot of times in those situations, people would lose faith, but mine grew.
Okay.
Because it kept me around.
Okay. Yes, Debbie.
I always believed in God. I didn't know Christ was part of that God. I didn't know Christ at all, and definitely did not know the Spirit. And so God showed himself, not himself, but his presence, everything was there when I was on my sister's casket. And the time that I was going to kill myself to get that love back that I had on my sister's casket, because I never had that love in my life. I didn't know where it came from. I was going to do that. stop me. He didn't want me dead. So I'm like, I gotta go for it. I
Okay.
gotta go.
Thought there might be something to that. Better seek it out a little bit further.
Huh?
Better kind of seek it out a little bit more. Thought there might be something to
Oh,
all of that.
I
Yeah.
knew it was, but I didn't know what. I
Right.
seriously had no clue how to do it. I didn't even know what that love was.
Okay.
And that was the spirit of it. So, that was God's love.
Okay.
Through that, I become very strong in the faith when I came here and I heard it. I heard the spirit come through Mr. Russ.
Mhm.
He was talking, and I'm like, there it is. I don't know what that is, but there it is. I'm in the right place.
All right. Anybody else? Yeah.
Dylan, I'm even more simple-minded than my friend Bill. It might be because
Now that might be true.
I'm old.
That might be true.
But I believe, because I want to, this story is incredible. The story of the redemption is incredible. And we sing the song, I love to tell the story. I love to hear the story. Yes, there's
Yeah.
God, and he sent his son. And I know I'm a rat sometimes, and I can be forgiven of that. I love that story. So I choose to, and that's unreasoned defense. And then when I hear all the reasoned defense, I appreciate that. I'm a believer, and I'm glad to have some backup on logic.
There you go.
The story.
Yeah. So strictly just you heard the story. Yeah. Okay. That's a reason to believe. Okay. I know you're thinking about something. You got anything?
I was raised Catholic. We
Okay.
went to Mass every Sunday. So when I obeyed, there was never a doubt in my mind there was a God because I was raised in that family.
Right.
And that's a true blessing. So my big board started off with there was a God.
Yeah.
What I had to fill in is what he was saying in his word.
Right.
And then as you study the word, you start growing in faith and start understanding what his calling is for you. Unlike some people that have been raised that there was no God.
Right.
It's a whole different area you're coming from. So
Okay. So you too just kind of had a background already, saw it. That's one of my reasons. Yes, Gloria.
Yes, my mom told me about God and Jesus when I was 17. And then, when I was 83, I decided that I was going to go to church. And also my grandfather had been a preacher for the church.
Okay.
And I've heard him when I was a kid, but I don't remember none of that,
Yeah.
But, we went, were baptized. I didn't know much at all, but the day I was baptized, I started reading in the Old Testament. I read the whole book,
Yeah.
and I got faith through the pages of the Bible.
All right. So yours kind of came through reading, and that was one of your reasons. Anybody else? All right. Let me kick this to you. Here's a scenario. Okay, and some of you may not ski, but let's say you are at a ski resort, okay? You're at a ski resort. Let's say it's Colorado, nice winter, spring day, just you. And you go and you get on the lift, and you're going to get on the lift that, the big one that takes you way up to the top of the mountain. Okay, and you're in line and you're about to get in, and you hop on, and then somebody else actually that's right beside you, they decide to get on. If you've ever been skiing, you kind of have two lines, and you go, and if you're the only one, they'll be like, okay, come on. Okay, so you get on this lift, the ski lift, and it's you and this other person on the end of the bench, and you've got about, depending on how tall the mountain is, 4, maybe 5 minutes. It's you and this other person, and just the cool winter morning for 5 minutes. So, you start talking to the person, and you guys start talking as most people do when you get on a ski lift. Who are you? What's your name? What do you do? And all that stuff. Okay, hypothetically, let's just say that somehow, I don't know how, but somehow the conversation goes to religion. Okay? And the conversation somehow goes to and gets into, you are a Christian. You follow God. You believe in God. You follow the Bible and all this stuff. And then the person comes back at you and says, you know what? I don't know if I really believe much about the Bible. I don't really know if I believe much about the Bible. I'm not sure that Jesus was even a real person. And, for that matter, do you really think that we can trust the Bible? This is them talking to you. Do you really think that we can trust the Bible? I mean, I believe it's probably been tampered with, surely, over, a couple thousand years. And I don't really know that I can trust such an ancient document and the things that it says about God and Jesus and so forth. I mean, is there really anything that verifies that we can? In scenario. Okay? Question. Anybody get a little bit of anxiety just listening to that? Seriously. Did you get a little bit of anxiety? Just thinking about that scenario if you were in it. Why? Why?
How do I respond?
How do you respond?
How am I going to respond?
How am I going to respond? What else? Why did you feel that way?
It's hard to explain things that are so deep in your soul that somebody on the outside has no grasp of.
Okay. So maybe anxiety on just how do I explain this to this person?
Make them really understand.
Okay?
God shows us the things that He has made, as plainly seen
Mm-hmm.
that He made them.
Absolutely. Through creation. So, we sometimes get a little bit anxious about those situations, don't we? This is a scenario that happens all too often with Christians. Okay? Show of hands, really, who has been in a situation or scenario like that where you've been talking with somebody and then they mention something, maybe something skeptical, but you're not quite sure how to respond and what to say to their question? Has anybody ever been in that situation? Raise them up. Yeah. I've been in that situation. A lot of us have been in those situations. Greg, where did the conversation go? What happened?
Depends on what's said, but it's a lot to unpack, and I approach each situation different based on how I feel their spiritual knowledge is. May depend on how I come in. Sometimes I try to meet a person at their level.
Yep.
If they're educated and spiritually and have some solid biblical knowledge, I may come in somewhere else. But if they're just worldly, pagan type person, I'll try to meet them where they're at and find an entry. But that's a lot to unpack.
Right. Right.
But those situations in my life happen regularly.
Yeah. What kind of happens if you've been in that situation? What happens in the conversation?
The first question I asked, several I can think of, is, do you believe there's a God?
Okay.
Takes a very different approach if they don't believe God.
Yep.
And if they believe God.
Yep. Got to figure that out.
Yeah, and if they don't believe a God, the next question I think there are two people in particular, is, do you want to talk about why
Yeah.
you believe there's a God?
Yeah.
And one said yes, and one said no. So,
At least you asked. Sometimes that's all we got to do. And some people are waiting. Why didn't you ask? Yeah. Okay. So it kind of went there, and you had to figure out where to go. Okay. For a lot of us Christians, we crumble at this point. At this juncture, we crumble. It just is what it is. Yeah. We are fairly decent at handling somebody that does believe in the Bible, somebody that does believe in the inerrancy of Scripture and the authority of Scripture, only their base might be off a little bit, right? Or they may not have the full truth. We're relatively decent at being able to show somebody the errors in their doctrine and help guide them to the truth. But what I have seen and where we're not as strong is when somebody drops the bombshell in the conversation and says, well, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in God. Or I don't really think that there's much evidence for the existence of God. That one kind of throws us for a loop, to be honest with you. That one throws us for a loop sometimes. And unfortunately, sometimes what happens, since we don't exactly know how to handle that, we sometimes resort to, well, I'm sorry, I can't help your unbelief. You know, I'm sorry, I believe it. I'm sorry that you don't. And we end up maybe just going our separate ways. And people who may have potential, we end up moving on from because we don't know how to handle the skepticism or the questions that they have. I think it has even caused some of our young ones to kind of stray away from the faith because we may not be able to give them legitimate things to think about or legitimate answers to their legitimate questions. And for a long time, people have said, well, it's in the Bible. You should believe that because it's in the Bible. Well, listen, it's not cutting it anymore. It's not cutting it anymore. So, this class is really going to be centered around how can we talk to, or what things can we talk to people or someone about who might be a little bit skeptical of the things that we believe. That's what this class is going to be about. For a lot of us, we have our reasons why we believe. We just talked about them. Okay? Not all of us share, but we got our reasons. Okay? We are solid on those reasons. And we don't need much else to believe. Honestly. We don't need further convincing. We believe because we read it in the Bible. We believe because it's what we've always grown up with and we've never questioned it. And I think that's the case for a lot of Christians. We've never questioned it. They base their convictions and their reasons for following strictly on what they see in the text, like you said, Doug. And for a lot of people, that's all they need. They read the story and that's it. That's all that they need. They don't have to have anything extra shown to them to convince them of this stuff. They believe what they believe because they read it in the Bible. And that's great. To take the Bible at face value like that is wonderful. I wish we had more people like that. To not need anything other than God's Word to place their faith in Him. I mean, Jesus told Thomas in John 20:29, He says, because you have seen me, you believe? He's like, man, blessed are those who do not see and believe. It's a wonderful thing to not have to see it to still believe it. That's a blessing. I mean, that's awesome. Okay? To believe on Jesus like that is commendable. It's what should happen to a person when they read the Bible. And a lot of us in here grew up in an era when most people, I think, believed that this is the Word of God. This is the Word of God. It carries authority, and we should obey it, no questions asked. That was the era, okay? But we have to understand, too, that outside of these walls are people who don't see it the same way. They don't see it the same way. All right? They don't see it the same way we do. A lot of people don't have the same convictions we have. Okay? They didn't grow up with a Bible in the home like a lot of us did. They weren't attending somewhere every time the doors were open like a lot of us have. They don't have a history of always being in and around the church. A lot of people don't have what a lot of us have. Like millions of people don't have that in the world today. In fact, a lot of people are quite skeptical of the things that we believe and the claims that we make about God and Jesus and the Bible and Christianity and so forth. Not everybody sees it or views it like we do. And regardless of whatever you think about that, and you may think, well, sorry about that. I'm sorry that they don't. I do. You may think that. Okay? And you can think like that if you want. But I think we're missing some of these people because we may not be equipped enough to handle what they have going on. I think we're missing some folks. But I also think that those people can be reached with the truth. I think those people can be reached. They're just not as convinced as maybe some of us are by the traditional arguments that they hear. It's just not doing it for them. Okay? So getting these people and reaching these people can't come by the same methods that we might be accustomed to using. It can't come by the same methods necessarily. Okay? I don't think today we are dealing with the same kind of people that we may have dealt with 30 and 40 years ago. I don't think we're dealing with the same people in the world. And I know that we all have our own thoughts about that, and we hate the way that the culture has gone and all of that, but this is the reality. Like, wake up, we're in it. This is the reality. We can't live in the past. This is it. We in 2026 now. All right? It's not 1980. It's not 1960. This isn't the beginning of the Reformation in America. It's not it. We've got to understand that. Okay? It's a new day. I know we don't like it. We don't like the way the culture is going, but this is it. We're in it. Okay? And so, how then are we going to adapt and how are we going to adjust to a different group of people to help them see the truth if we actually do want to help them see the truth?
You're going to have to start outside the Bible first.
Reading my notes, Brian.
Well, I mean, if they're not
Your mind is going there.
as the basis, they
Yeah.
have to use human
Yeah.
logic that they're familiar with and start from there.
There you go.
And you can make a really convincing argument that will make them listen to you, and then you can meld in the Bible as you
Yep.
go along.
Absolutely. And that's what we've got to think about. We've got to think about how, in a culture and society that has a mindset like this, that is skeptical of it all, how do we talk to them, or what things could we talk to them about that might make them reconsider? How do you help get a person to believe in God, or help them to come to believe that the Bible is reliable, it can be trusted, and Jesus and Christianity is worth following? How do you do that with a person who does not have the same convictions you have?
What's that series
Well,
Russ will know. What was it? Joel Miller. Yeah, Joel Miller, that probably wouldn't work in today, would it?
probably not. Not with some folks. Not with some folks. But I like where your mind's at. So we've got, how do we reach those people? Well, at some point, you have to start getting into other things, Brian, outside of the Bible that wind up actually proving the Bible. That might sound confusing, but that's kind of how you have to do it. The things outside of the Bible that actually do point to the existence of God and Jesus and Christianity being the religion to follow, and the Bible, that the Bible can be trusted, okay? Because if we're going to help people who don't believe or trust the Bible, you can't exactly use the Bible. Let me say that again. If you're dealing with somebody who doesn't believe in the Bible, you can't use the Bible. They ain't going to listen to you. They're not going to listen to you at all. Okay? Book, chapter, and verse doesn't work with these people. All right? They don't even believe in the book to begin with. So, we've got then to figure out a different approach to handle somebody like that. We've got to come up with different things to talk to them about that might get them thinking a little bit, and be able to hold a conversation with someone, or at least give them something to chew on, or plant a seed of doubt in their minds about their unbelief. Or at least be able, to be in a conversation with someone and be able to say, have you ever thought about this? Have you ever considered this, though? What do you think about that, though? See what I mean? Just to be able, to point someone to, and introduce them to something that maybe they haven't thought about yet. That's what we want to do. And so, this class is going to be on apologetics. Okay? Again, we are in a quarter of fortifying our faith. When I think about things that can strengthen and reinforce thoughts that I have about Christianity, most of the time it has to do with apologetics. For me, at least. Okay? Maybe you too. Now, I'm sure we have heard of this word before, but apologetics does not mean what it sounds like it means. Okay? We're not talking about just apologizing, making apologies and saying sorry to everybody. That's not what we're doing. That's not what this means. Okay? It has nothing to do with making apologies to someone or apologizing for something. In the biblical world, in the theology world, apologetics is, and this is my definition, you can find a more dictionary definition of it, I'm sure, but I have said that I think really apologetics boils down to this: a well-reasoned defense for the existence of God, the reality of Jesus, the legitimacy of Christianity, and the reliability of the Bible that offers clear reasons to believe. Clear logical reasons to believe. Let's make sure we add that. Logical reasons, okay? Again, that's my definition. So, first of all, it is well-reasoned. It is something that you can reason through and think through that leads you to a certain conclusion. Okay? Then, it is a defense. It is something that can be defended, something you might use to combat something else with. It is something offered up in defense. Okay? It does come from a couple of different words that we see inside the New Testament. I'm not just pulling this out of nowhere. We see it in the Bible. You have a noun form and you have a verb form of this word, okay? The noun form of this word that we see is apologia. All right? I'm just showing you where we get this stuff. Intro. Apologia, okay? That word means, it means a defense. It means a speech of defense. It's kind of a reply. It's the act of making a defense or making a formal justification. Okay? Apologia. 8 times you find it inside the New Testament. 7 times with Paul, 1 time with Peter. Okay? The verb form on the bottom there, apologiomai. Apologia, apologiomai. Noun, verb. Okay? That means, it's very close, very similar to the first one. Speaking of defense, defending oneself against charges presumed to be false. You provide argumentation in defense of oneself. So they're very closely related, but you have one and the other. All right, so when it is used in the Bible as apologia, as the noun, here you find it in these passages here. Okay, you've got Acts 22:1. This is mostly with Paul. Men, brothers, and fathers, hear my defense, which I now offer to you. 25:16. I answer them that it is not the custom of the Romans to hand over any man before the accused meets his accusers face to face and has an opportunity to make his defense against the charges. 1 Corinthians 9:3, Paul says, my defense to those who examine me is this, and then he goes on. Okay, you also have some more. 2 Corinthians 7:11, right there, it's translated as vindication. What vindication of yourselves? Defense, apologia. Philippians 1:7, because I have you in my heart, since both in my chains and in the defense and confirmation of the gospel. Philippians 1:16, the latter do it out of love, knowing that I am appointed for the defense of the gospel. 2 more, 2 Timothy 4:16, at my first defense, no one supported me. And then Peter says, and this is probably the one we're most familiar with, although I think sometimes it does get ripped out of context, because Peter is talking about the reason for your hope that is there, okay? And we need to remember that. But anyway, he does say, sanctify Christ as Lord in your hearts, always being ready to make a defense, that be through your suffering, Peter talks about, to everyone who asks you to give an account for the hope that is in you, yet with gentleness and fear. That's the common one that's mostly quoted, 1 Peter 3:15. Okay, that's the noun. So when you see it then as a verb, though, apologiomai, some of the crowd concluded it was Alexander, since the Jews had put him forward, and having motioned with his hand, Alexander was intending to make a defense to the assembly. 25:8, Paul said, in his own defense. 26:1, stretching out his hand, began to make his defense. All right, so there's a few ways that you see it there, but the idea is you have a defense, and then it's actually using that defense. Noun, verb. Anyway, I just wanted you to see, okay, here's where we're gathering that. Now, what are we defending? Right? Okay, yes, that would be one, as Paul already mentioned in Philippians chapter 1. The gospel. Yeah. Our belief, absolutely. There's a host of things we defend. Number one, we're defending this, the existence of God. Right? We are defending that there is a supernatural, eternal creator that stands outside of this time. And we're defending that.
When you say that defending, it makes me think, when somebody comes across very strongly with unbelief, I get a hinge of anger inside me, I think.
That's okay, as I would say, as long as it is righteous anger.
It's like they're saying something bad about something.
Yes, and it ought to infuriate you, because it does me. I don't like it when people, yeah.
Kind of puts me in that mindset.
Right, but then it's kind of how you handle that situation, right? Like, you can be upset about it because this is ridiculous. Why does somebody not believe? But we still have to handle that with the right approach and tone and so forth.
I've walked away from that situation because of
Well, if you're about to blow up on somebody, you might need to walk away. Come back at a later time. But I hear what you're saying. It is a bit, makes you a little upset, angry. Yeah. Think about how God feels. Anyway, so we're defending the existence of God and that He is supernatural. There is something supernatural, a creator that exists. We're also defending Jesus. We're defending Jesus Himself. There are defenses that prove Jesus was a real person. That He did exist and that people did follow Him. We can see that. We have history. We'll look at that. Historical evidences for Jesus the Christ. It's real. That's something we're defending. Okay? We're also defending Christianity. Okay? The entire system of faith that is based on this man, Jesus Christ, that lived some 2,000 odd years ago. Okay? There are reasonable defenses that defend Christianity. This system of religion that people follow, there are things that help defend its legitimacy and why it's logical. It's there. And then, of course, we are defending the Bible itself. We're defending the Bible. There are well-reasoned defenses that bolster, back up, guard, preserve, and stand up for the Bible. The Bible's legitimacy, the Bible's accuracy, truth, its history, trustworthiness. Apologetics defends that. It defends the Bible. Okay? And so a lot of this reasoning that goes on can be done by looking at sources outside the Bible, Brian, itself. Okay? And that's part of the point with apologetics. How can you prove the legitimacy of Christianity? How can you prove the validity of the Bible without the Bible? That's part of apologetics. Okay? You look at various arguments and you can look at various evidences before you even get to the Bible. And sometimes you've got to do it that way with people. Okay? But I think we have got to start trying to get to the point to where we can meet a lot of these people, Greg, where they are. Meet them where they're at and be able to have a conversation with them. And I know that this topic, apologetics, can seem daunting. I get it. All right? It's an area that we don't usually step into a lot, and sometimes I think it even scares us a little bit. Because we may not know what to talk about, and we may not be able to handle all of the arguments that are out there, and we're just not equipped necessarily. To be honest with you, this stuff has scared me. I dread coming into contact with somebody who has problems believing in the Bible. I do. I don't like it. I don't want to come into contact with somebody like that, okay? Because it's not necessarily an area I spend a whole lot on. Or the existence of God, or somebody that has problems with those things, okay? I'm not necessarily as well versed, or at least I haven't been in the past. And it's scary, okay? So I get it. I know it's challenging, but we can't shy away from it just because it's an area that we're not as comfortable with. Can't just shy away from these things, okay? To me, that's exactly where we need to go. Because to me, that's a weak point. And we need to strengthen that point and get better at it and stronger in it, right? Well, we can tell you all day about baptism. Yeah. One of the things, one of my instructors, Vestal, that came a couple weeks ago, he did that to us in our homiletics class. He said, all right, boys, give us some passages on baptism. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. All right, give me some on the Spirit and give me some on grace. And nobody said a word. It is a shame. Weak points. You got to strengthen those weak points. Okay? You have to go there sometimes. It's uncomfortable, but you got to grow somehow. Okay? And I'll finish with this and kind of, I used to kind of think that with this stuff, apologetics, I kind of thought, I don't need this. I don't need this to believe. I believe it. I don't need it. And I was kind of slapped in the face a little bit with that. Year 2, BV, I am actively in the Christian Evidences Apologetics class with Jeff Miller from Apologetics Press. We are in the class, going through it in the quarter, final quarter, toughest quarter ever. You know, boy, it's hard. But I'm in it. We have research week, and I'm like, I got to get out of here. So take a couple days, and I go skiing. Ski lift example. I took off skiing, and I think I went up to I had a little ski pass and stuff, and I think I went up to Breckenridge. It was late in the season. It was like March, I think. And the further up you go on mountains, the lift is no longer a bench seat. It's a T-bar. It's like this and like this. And so your behind's here, and the other person's right there. So when you get up on the lift, you kind of both grab on, and you're like, all right, and you sit down and try to hold your stuff. Yeah, not very comfortable, but slow. It's a slow ride also, this lift is. And I had some time. And naturally, we get to talking. Why in Denver? And we get to talking about this. So I'm in preaching school, and I do this and that, and, all the things. He said, oh, this is going to be fun for you. I was like, and this is kind of a younger guy, maybe my age or so, maybe a little younger at that time. I was like, okay, I don't know what that means. Well, here he went. And he starts bringing up all these instances. Boy, he was ready. He was looking for a fight in this way. And he starts talking about age of the earth. And he starts talking about evolution stuff. And how do we know, and validity of the Bible. And he starts talking about all this stuff, and he gets into other stuff like women submitting and stuff like that. Just one after another, just bang, bang, bang. I mean, I didn't even have time to respond to this. And I was trying, we're on the thing. I'm trying to converse with this guy. And he wasn't having it. And he was just a skeptic that wasn't going to let you get in anything. He wasn't going to let you talk. And so finally we come to the top, and I'm like, man, I hope I can talk to you more about this. And he's like, see you later. And he goes this way, and I went that way. And I tell you what, I had to pull off. I was like, what just happened? I kind of blacked out,
Good thing you went there to clear your head.
I'm telling you. Yeah, I got more confused. No, but I pulled off, and I think I had my phone on me. I called Marissa. I said, you won't believe what just happened to me. I was like, this guy just starts going on and on and on. But I knew right then that this is where it's headed. I literally got a lesson out of that deal. I knew right then that I better start taking this a bit more seriously, because this is where we're headed. Actually, we're already there. We are in an era and time where people do not believe things that is told to them. Okay? It's an era of media-driven, AI-driven, fake news, fake whatever-driven world, and that's what we now know. And I would hate trying to grow up in this. And I think to some degree we've got to understand where people are coming from. This is the world they're in. I can't necessarily blame them for not just automatically believing something when their entire world is based on stuff that's fake all the time. And I know we want them to just, you should believe in the Bible and follow Jesus, And it's like, all they're doing, though, is just asking the simple question, why? Give me a reason. Give me a good, logical, solid, legitimate reason for why you want me to believe in what you believe. And to be honest with you, I don't blame them. And I don't fault their questions. I don't fault questions. I don't take things everything that's told to me. Do you? How can you? I don't fault their questions at all. Questions can be good. Questions can lead to answers. It's not about the questions. But we have to do our part. And we've got to get a little bit better at just being able to give somebody something. Think about that. Think about this. Have you thought of that? You ever looked into Bible archaeology? Think about that. You ever looked at the Pilate inscription? Think about that. I mean, go to the YouTube comments and just look at all of the comments that people are saying about their non-belief. It's everywhere, folks. The fruit is there. I think it's hanging. It might be higher. It might be harder to grab and harder to reach, but it's there. I think we can reach people if we go about it the right way and study and get this stuff down. Okay? But it takes work. And last thing, you have to remember too, this is not about winning arguments. It's not just going into battle to win an argument with somebody and slapping somebody in the face with one of these arguments. It's not about that. Souls, truth, we got to get in this area a little bit. All right? I'm looking forward to a good class. This is going to be challenging for me. Pray for me too.